He is more beast than man. Flesh sheathed in metal, rage honed to a scalpel's edge. They call him Wolverine. But what grim alchemy allows a mortal to grow knives from his bones? In the shadowed corners of science fiction, there exists a figure, part man, part weapon. His name is whispered like legend, a creature not born but forged in secrecy. His bones laced with unbreakable metal, his hands armed with retractable claws that slice through steel like silk. But could such a thing ever exist outside the realm of comic books and cinema? Could flesh bear blades? Could biology birth a living weapon? Today, we plunge into the science behind the myth. We dissect the physiology, interrogate the engineering, and explore the blurred boundary where human evolution collides with science fiction. This is not just a question of possibility, but of consequence. To understand the science behind Wolverine's retractable claws, we must first look beneath the flesh, into the labyrinth of bone, tendon, and sinew that makes up the human forearm. In an ordinary man, the ulna and radius are solid structures, evolved for grip and flexibility. But in Wolverine, something unnatural slumbers within. To house 3 retractable claws in each forearm, his bones would need to be radically restructured. Perhaps hollowed like the fangs of a serpent, the blades coiled within, waiting for release. The musculature, too, must be transformed. New muscle groups, absent in modern anatomy, would be required to extend and retract the claws with precision and violence. But these claws don't simply slide between skin and muscle. They pierce through, again and again. In any normal body, this would be a sentence of agony and disfigurement. But Wolverine's healing factor, that relentless biological forge, seals the wounds almost as fast as they're made. Like the talons of a great cat or the fangs of a beast long extinct, Wolverine's claws are not tools. They are organs of war, part of a body that was never meant to exist, and yet it does. Nature has long shaped weapons from bone. Antlers, tusks, talons, tools of survival and dominance grown from the bodies of beasts. But the idea of bone evolving into a bladed weapon, that is a psychosis nature has only flirted with. For Wolverine's claws to originate from within his forearm bones, the skeleton itself must be repurposed, not simply strengthened, but transformed. Bone is living tissue, dynamic, regenerative, capable of remarkable adaptation. But for it to sharpen itself into 12-inch blades, that would require a guided biological process, an accelerated unnatural evolution. Across Earth's history, countless species have developed razor-like extensions, keratinized armor, hooked claws, piercing fangs, but all remain external. For bone to be housed inside the arm and emerge on command, it would demand a new class of organ, a muscular control system fused with precise osteogenesis. Could science cheat nature's pace? Perhaps. With gene editing, we've already begun sculpting the genome. With the right mutations, bone might be grown like ivory, dense, sharp, and ever regenerating. But Wolverine is no mere mutation. He is the biological frontier crossed with forbidden government experimentation, someone who is not merely born, but made. In the lore of the Marvel Universe, Wolverine's bones are fused with a metal born of fiction, adamantium. Said to be indestructible, unyielding, and impossible to replicate. It's not just armor, it is metamorphosis, the merging of man and myth, forged in a crucible of military ambition. But could such a metal exist in the real world? Today's scientists are crafting alloys that rival myth, titanium-laced ceramics, carbon nanostructures, shape memory metals. Yet nothing approaches the absolute, a material that is unbreakable, impervious to heat, corrosion, or time. To bind such a metal to the human skeleton would defy every law of medicine. Bones are not static. They live, they breathe, they change. A fusion of metal and bone would demand a surgical nightmare or a molecular miracle. The metal must not just coat the bone, it must become it. And the body would rebel. The immune system would attack the foreign intruder. Cells would die by the millions. Only a perfect healing factor, an impossible regeneration engine, could keep the host alive. And even then, the pain would be unending. Adamantium is more than a fantasy metal. It is a symbol of what happens when man is broken open and filled with steel. To wield a blade is to control it, but to become the blade, that requires a transformation deeper than steel or bone. It demands a nervous system reprogrammed for war. Wolverine's claws don't spring from a holster. They erupt from inside his body. Muscles must contract in perfect rhythm to drive the blades forward through skin, tendon, and flesh, again and again. No living organism has evolved such a mechanism, but evolution is not the only author of change. To pull this off, the body would need custom muscle groups, biological actuators with precision control, and nerves capable of withstanding repeated trauma. Each extension would tear the tissue from within, and each retraction would grind it raw again. Only Wolverine's legendary healing factor could offset the cost. Without it, he would bleed out in minutes. The act of extending his claws an act of slow demise. But with it, he becomes something else. Something that can endure pain, not as a punishment, but as a reason for being. Every flex of his hands is a silent war. Every movement of the claws, a negotiation with agony. He is a machine of muscle and metal, not born for violence but built to survive it. Steel in the bones, blades in the flesh, but none of it, not the claws, not the metal, not the fury, would matter without the final piece, regeneration. The healing factor is not a superpower, it's a biological rebellion. Wolverine's body rebuilds at a pace that mocks medical understanding. Skin reknits in seconds, nerves reconnect, organs regrow. A full skeletal recoating of adamantium should be fatal, but for him, it's an everyday existence. In nature, some creatures heal. The axolotl regrows its limbs. Certain jellyfish defy aging, but Wolverine is different. His healing is constant, not just reactive, but proactive. He is a man whose body is always fighting to stay alive, no matter what the world throws at it. But there's a darker implication buried beneath the surface of this regenerative miracle. Healing at such extraordinary speed means that Wolverine's cells are in a constant state of division, relentless, unyielding, endless. In the natural world, there's only one category of cells that behave like this: malignant ones. Cancer. Normal human cells obey biological rules. They replicate a set number of times, then retire or self-destruct. This limit, known as the Hayflick limit, is nature's safeguard against chaos. But Wolverine's cells laugh at that limit. They divide infinitely, heedless of age, damage, or mutation. His biology has declared war on the end itself, and that war comes at a cost. In our world, unchecked cell growth is terminal. In his world, it's the source of his greatest weapon. But it raises a chilling question. Is his power a controlled cancer? Or is it a biologically tamed disease? And if the latter, how long before it runs wild? Wolverine's healing factor may not be a gift, it might be a prison. One built of immortal cells, unending pain, and a body that will not die, whether he wants it to or not. Some myths wear capes, others wear scars. Wolverine, however, is a monument to survival. In him we see the terrible arithmetic of a body made for war. Bones reforged with alien metal, muscles reshaped into biological engines of violence, pain wired into every movement. And yet he walks forward, not because he's invincible, but because he can't die. If science built him, it did so with fire and blood. If nature made him, she did so in defiance of mercy. He's not man or machine. He is myth, stalked by pain, armored in rage, ruled only by instinct. And as the blades rise again, one truth remains. The line between science fiction and nightmare is always thinner than we think. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please like and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Only on Crotonium.